Hello everybody, Calamity here, and I still can't play Monster Hunter Wilds. Today's video is going to be about our favorite General Gorou, who's having yet another rerun during the Mizuki slash Siege Win banner. And this video is going to be short compared to my earlier guides. If you do want a more in-depth guide on Gorou, I have it on the channel that I'll link in the description. And to be honest, even though it's a few years old, nothing has really changed in the way that we build Gorou. That being said, let's go ahead and start. So starting with the talents, we can skip his normal attack. Not something we're going to use. His elemental skill, though, this is his bread and butter. This is where his buff comes from. This is what makes Gorou unique and special. And this is definitely something you might even consider crowning if you want to min-max the buff that Gorou gives. So first of all, his skill does a bunch of things. It gives resistance to interruption. It gives a flat defense bonus, and it gives a geo damage bonus based off how many geo characters you have in the party. You need at least 3 to get all of the buffs. And if we look at the if we level up the talent, you can see each level will actually increase the flat defense that Gorou is giving with his elemental skill. However, you cannot increase the geo damage bonus, and you can't increase the more resistance to interruption thing. Those are set in stone. You'll only get 15% geo damage bonus at all times. Next up is his burst. Now you can totally leave this at level 1 if you want, because to be honest, Gorou's damage is negligible. But you know, if you have the materials and you want to, like, you know, min-max a little bit, feel free to upgrade this after his skill. His skill is definitely priority number 1. This is priority number 2. This basically makes it so that Gorou is no longer circle impact from his skill. In fact, you become the circle and the buff will move around with you. That's what makes this so special, and why we want to build a lot of energy recharge around Gorou. You'll always want to use the burst version of his buff, not the skill, because the skill, again, it's circle impact. You'll be limited into that AoE, and you can't really move that much, whereas the burst says right here, it moves with your active character, so you're able to freely move around the arena while still being buffed by Gorou. It also does, again, it does do some damage with the crystal collapse stuff, but it's very, again, negligible damage. It doesn't do a lot. It does have a high energy cost, which is why energy recharge is very, very important. His passive skill makes it so that when you use his burst, you get a 25% increase in defense for 12 seconds, straight up to all nearby party members. And a favor repaid is kind of useless, to be honest. Again, it adds multipliers of damage to both his skill and his burst based off his defense. You can see for his burst, it's very, very little. But for his skill, it's like it's a decent amount. But again, nothing is going to be crazy in terms of damage from our Gorou, even if you go heavily into that defense investment. Lastly is Seeker of Shinies. This is going to make it so that you can see all of the unique resources in Inazuma. Weapons, it's going to be very, very easy. He is a support, so naturally Favonius is going to be his best in-slot weapon. If you don't have a Favonius, though, the next best thing is a Sacrificial Bow just for the energy recharge, and you can just use his skill twice. So again, even more particles for him for more burst uptime. The burst is the most important thing to always have, again, because it's the movable version of his skill. And that's pretty much it for weapons. Artifacts, you do have a bunch of choices here. You can give him Noblesse Oblige, but if we look at the artifact recommendations, we can see this is actually where a majority of you have built Gorou. We'll say not optimally. Noblesse Oblige is okay because it gives an attack buff to, you know, the entire team. So if you're using Noel and Artaki Ito, this is a nice little buff. You can also do 2-piece Emblem of Severed Fate, 2-piece Husk for a little bit of defense, a little bit of energy recharge, and that's not a bad option either. Now, Husk of Opulent Dreams 4-piece does give Gorou geo damage bonus and defense percentage based off his curiosity stacks. But this isn't something that Gorou needs. His damage, again, not crazy. Not going to be like some off-field DPS like Chiori or Albedo that you're missing out on. His damage is very, very lackluster. So we don't really need to invest into it. You're better off using either the second recommendation if you want some more extra substats all around, or the Noblesse Oblige. However, there's also one more set that I can recommend that's not on here, and that's going to be the Exile. Even though it is a 4-star set, which means you're going to be losing a lot of stats on Gorou, as long as he has a lot of energy recharge, he's honestly solid. But this one makes it so that when he uses his burst, he regenerates energy for his entire team. Now, again, characters like Noelle, who have terrible energy, like particle generation, can benefit greatly from this set because, more energy, more burst uptime, more damage for those characters and stuff like that. So Exile is something you can consider giving your Gorou, and it's not listed up there just because it's a 4-star. Now, when it comes to the substats, energy recharge, and assuming you gave him a crit, or a Favonius bow, then he also needs some crit rate. And that's pretty much honestly it. If you can get some defense percentage, awesome. It does also recommend, I don't know why crit damage is here. I guess it's just like a nothing stat. But yeah, energy recharge, crit rate are going to be your main two for all of your artifacts. And if you can get defense percentage, sure, slap it on there, but it's not going to be a requirement in this case. And if you're wondering about main stats for the sands, definitely energy recharge, in my opinion, should be your priority. You just want as much as possible, 200% or higher. If you can go higher than that, even better. For the goblet, because there's no energy recharge option, you can just go defense percentage or geo damage, I guess. Just the one that has better substats. Again, that means energy recharge and crit rate and stuff like that. Oh yeah, and the circlet, you do also have a bunch more options as well. If you go crit rate, this is going to solve a lot of your issues with the Favonius Warbow, so I can recommend that. You can go defense percentage again if you care about his damage, and eventually his healing at C4, which is why I can also recommend a healing bonus circlet if you so choose to invest in his healing. That's not on here. I don't know. I guess some of you guys went crit damage. 8% of you. That's not really good at all. For Gorou, he's not a DPS, so to speak. So there's your options for artifacts. Feel free to use whatever you want. If you are using him in a team with someone that already has a Noblesse Oblige, like let's say Bennett, then you can swap his artifact set to either the 2-piece defense, 2-piece energy recharge, or give him an exile set. Constellation. This makes it so that you have a longer, or a shorter cooldown on his elemental skill, which is good. Shorter cooldown means you get the buff up more often, and more energy particle generation from his skill. C2 extends the duration of his elemental burst. Every time you collect an elemental shard from the crystallize reaction, remember to do crystallize, you need to interact with Hydro, Pyro, Cryo, or Electro with Geo to make an electric shard. So if you're fighting an Anemo boss, a Geo boss, or a Dendro boss, you might have a little bit of trouble making the crystallized reaction. C3 is good because more elemental skills levels is great, whereas C5 is completely useless because it only increases the damage of his burst, which we don't care about. C4 turns Gorou into a healer, but don't get too excited because his healing isn't anything fantastic. It's only going to be 50% of Gorou's own defense every 1.5 seconds. So let's say you have 2500 defense on your Gorou because you did some heavy investment on him, then he's only going to heal for about 1250. So nothing really impressive there. It's nice, don't get me wrong, but I would still not rely on just Gorou as your sole support. I would at least have a shielder or something on the team to make it a little bit more comfy. C6 is a good one. It's going to make it so that his elemental skill on top of all of the buffs it already gives will give an additional 40% crit damage if you have 3 Geo characters in your team, which you should. With Gorou, he already gives you 1, so you just need your main DPS, which should be Arataki Ito or Noelle, and then like one more sub DPS like Albedo, Chiori, Ningguang, or Yunjin, for example, will count towards this the Geo character buff. So excellent options there. If you can get C6, it's really, really good. As for teams, pretty self-explanatory, right? He only buffs defense and Geo damage percentage, so he's not like a universal character that you can use with a bunch of characters. As I already said, if you have Noelle, great character to use with him. Chiori, Albedo, and Arataki Ito are all defense scaling Geo characters, so any team with those characters somewhere in there is going to be great. Don't forget he also provides energy for those characters, Noelle just being one of those characters that she needs her burst, right? Available for her to do damage. Same with Arataki Ito, etc, etc. So nice overall buffer to have, but he's very limited in who you can use him with. That's going to be pretty much it for this guide. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, additional tips for other Gorou users out there, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if this video was helpful at all for you. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.